I had a really good training session yesterday with some of the members in my community. And what someone did was they brought a live sales call to the meeting and I reviewed it for them. And the main thing that I wanted her to work on when we went through the review was her pitch. We talked about some good stuff that are common mistakes that salespeople make when it comes to pitching their products and services. And, I've seen time and time again when people make this mistake, they lose the value of the service they're actually offering. I've talked about this in a couple videos, but I think I broke it down really well for her in this clip. So that's what I did. I clipped it out of the 1 hour training session and I'm now uploading that for you guys to watch. So I'm going to let you guys watch that now. Hope you enjoy it. Hope you learned something.
Future, and then that gets me excited. So let me just pull up.
Is this the pitch here?
So her program is 12 weeks, 3 months. It's broken up into 3 separate modules. So month 1, I guess technically there's 4 modules within each phase. So 3 phases. Module 1 is all about power. So not force, but finding, your inner power, identifying, what power you have in certain situations, what influence you've had in creating the life and experiences that you've been living, who you've been giving your power away to, and really just teaching you how to be unshakable, re-owning your power. Phase 2 is all about influence. So, it starts with yourself, how you can influence your own emotions. And then that expands to others. So as I was saying before, Pauline really blends science and spirituality. So she introduces quantum physics in a way that's practical and accessible. And you really want to align your intentions with the outcomes that you want to create. So how do you think it would feel to not just be able to influence yourself, but actually influence the energies of the people around you?
I think that's just what happens in general, right? Like we're always.
What did you say the last pillar was? What was the last one?
Well, at first I was asking a question of seeing, like, getting her to engage in the middle there. So at the end of phase 2, I asked her a question.
Okay, you didn't get into it yet. Okay.
Yeah, phase 3 is yet to come.
It's influencing people around us. So,
do you feel that you have the power and the intention to control? Well, not control, but to choose how you want to influence other people?
Yeah, like that's always a choice.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
Good. And then month 3 is about magnetism. She calls it magnetic as fuck. She said, finally, it's about being the person who naturally attracts opportunities and people, and results without forcing it. So Pauline likes to say, you become the target that attracts the arrow. So it's about drawing the experiences and the situations and the opportunities to you. It's not about expecting anything or identifying what it is that you want, but really just aligning yourself with what is aligned with you, because nothing happens that isn't meant to happen. And it's about allowing those life opportunities to really draw to you without having to suffer and force anything. So over those 12 weeks, you get, we start off by sending you an Enneagram test, which is, are you familiar with the Enneagram test?
A little bit. Like, is that the one with the wings and the?
I don't believe so. So the Enneagram actually predates.
That is the one with the wings, by the way.
Oh, I can't remember that.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Oh.
You get like a 3-wing 1 or something like that. It's usually like a 5-wing 2 or something like that. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I've taken the test before. Have you ever taken it? No?
I have taken it, yeah. I did it with Pauline. Well,
Okay.
she signed me up for it, but
yeah,
I guess I don't know enough about it. The wings, I'm gonna need to figure that out.
Yeah, your wing is supposed to be like your secondary like traits and stuff. And like
Got
your first one
you.
is your primary, and then the wing, whatever, secondary.
Right.
That being said, now that you've listened to it, thoughts on the pitch?
Oh my God, I need practice. That could have been so much smoother. I could have had a lot more. I mean, like I have a ton of conviction, but it didn't come across. I was fumbling around and unsure of where I was going next. And yeah, I definitely need to nail that down. Practice, practice, practice.
What's really good is you're able to identify the main things, because you're right. You know, that's the first step. Is like if you're saying I don't know what's wrong with it, then we have some issues. But you're able to identify exactly what needed to be fixed with it. Which I just wrote down three things. I wrote down confidence. I wrote
Yeah.
down tailoring aspect of it, and then
Yeah.
I wrote down painting the picture. Right. So you said like power, influence, magnetism. What I would love to see when it comes to painting the picture, because you already said the first two, would be you saying, this is what we're going to do together. This is what's going to happen when we do that. And the benefits you'll see is this, and really like painting the picture of what her life's going to look like, having achieved step one. Right. And then you want every single thing to play off the next. Right. So now influence, magnetism, you want it to be kind of a thing where you say, well, now that you have that, the next thing we're going to need to do is this, because, and then you kind of get into the same thing, right? So for example, if I give an example of something I know a little bit better, if I'm helping someone launch like their coaching business, right? First thing we need to do is fix the offer, right? If we fix the offer, then you're going to have people that are super excited to work with you, people that want exactly what it is you're offering. And since you're going to have so much people coming to you every day, the next thing we're going to need to work on is your sales, for example, right? Because now you're going to have all these calls. We need to make sure that you can actually present your service in a way that gets people to, pull the trigger on it. And then let's say the last thing I help with was delivery, maybe like hiring coaches, delivering the service. That'll play off of that, where I say, well, hey, now you've gotten a great offer, you're making tons of sales, but now we need to make sure that you have happy customers. Now we need to make sure that you're delivering the product well. So the last thing we're going to really work on is your delivery systems, right? So that way you are having the person see the light at the end of the tunnel very, very clearly, and they can see, and that's why they call it pillars, because they're supposed to be pillars of the bridge that makes up the end result, right? So if I were to kind of whiteboard it out for a second, the way I like to, where is it? Here we go. The way I like to explain it is, can you guys see that? You can see it? No? Yes?
No. Almost.
Whiteboard? Almost?
Yeah. Okay. Your whiteboard open.
Now we can see it? Cool.
Yeah.
So the way I like to explain it is if like this is the bridge and we got the pillars of the bridge, right? And these pillars are your pitch. This is the end result. This is where they're at currently. And as we're explaining the pitch, I want their brain to be seeing themselves crossing the bridge. It's like after step one, they should see themselves as like part way to the end result. Then when we're pitching part two, they should see themselves as halfway there, or 3/4, 2 out of 3/4 of the way there, whatever, 2/3 of the way there. And then after pitching the last thing, the end result should just be, that was a terrible circle. The end result should just be being there. Right? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Now,
Makes a ton of sense.
yeah, because then they're like, okay, cool. Because then when we usually follow it up with, hey, do you feel like this is exactly what you need to get the result? They should give you an astounding yes, right? Because it's like, hey, if we first work on your power, then your influence and your magnetism, that should equal the thing. If I'm trying to get to a 3 and I say, hey, first we add 1, then we add 1, then we add 1, as a byproduct, we have 3, we got there, right? So that's the way, that's how you want to pitch it. And then tailoring it would be like, the way I like to create my pitch is I'm identifying what questions should I ask and what should I cover or go deep on in the discovery that gives me the necessary information I need to tailor my pitch so that it feels like it's exactly what they've always been looking for. Does that make sense? So, for example, if I ask you about power, can you explain what that does and how you guys help when it comes to power?
So yes, I can. So the power phase is all about identifying, um, it's about self-awareness, self-sovereignty, regaining your power. So fully understanding what drives you, what your triggers are, where you're giving your power away, and how you can take back the power that you seem to have lost. Um, I'm missing things. You want to know what that's going to give you and how you're going to be able to operate after. So I think I need to do some work on that.
100%. So that's literally the questions I was going to ask you. It's like, okay, you give me self-awareness. You help me find out where I'm giving my power away. You show me how to take it back. So what results out of that?
What results out of that? Self-sovereignty. What results out of that? I mean, I know I can feel it. I just don't have the words for it, especially under pressure.
Okay. Well, if we look at the definition of self-sovereignty, let's say, it means the ability to choose the direction of one's own life and being the exclusive authority over one's own body and mind. Okay. So, because this is how it should work. It should be like, hey, I've spent 1 month in this program. It's been 1 month now, and I've gone through all of these power modules. So I should have some kind of result. Maybe I don't have the end result, but what do I have now? Where am I now after spending a month with you?
Yeah.
What does that look like? Right? So you want to get good at explaining and painting that picture. So that being said, what questions can we ask someone to find out and learn how they feel about power, how they feel about their self-awareness, how they feel about their self-sovereignty, how they feel about giving their power away? What can we learn about them? What are some things maybe they might say about that?
So are you asking what questions I can ask?
Sure.
Because I think you started that way. I mean, you could ask if we were to take my live call as an example. We could say maybe ask questions about I don't even know. You could ask questions about her leaving it up to these communities to decide if they want to accept her or not. Leaving it up to her, limiting her self-expression and her authenticity in order to gain connection. So she's not free to be herself in order to find people, a community, and to create support around her. I could ask questions around I don't know. What are your suggestions?
I think you're on the right track. I mean, if I was on the call with her in particular, one of my questions would say, why does she feel like she needs a community?
Okay.
Right? So then we can see where she's being reliant. Right?
Okay. Wouldn't you say that, like, as she talked about in the call, wouldn't you say that it's, just one of our basic needs, that everyone needs community?
Why does she feel like that? Where does that come from? That's what I'd ask
Okay.
her.
Sure.
Well, because if she doesn't, like, I mean, it would be one thing if she said, like she said, she was at one point Muslim and maybe the Quran says that. Cool, that might be where the belief stems from, but where does her belief that we all need community stem from? Right? And I don't disagree either. Community is like, I mean, if you grow up isolated, you kind of go nuts, right? So I agree, but I want her to vocalize why she feels that way. And then I want her to vocalize how it's making her feel to not have that community. And then that's going to lead to her vocalizing some of those things that we can tailor into power. Where she says, well, I don't know what word she might use, but let's say she just would say, I feel isolated. I feel alone. I feel like I'm by myself. I have nobody. I have no support. Let's say she used those words. Then maybe we can say part of power is going to help her overcome those feelings of solidarity. And hey, so then we can turn that pitch now into the first thing we're going to work on is what we like to call power, right? You taking back your power. Like you said, you were ostracized or you were removed from your community, and that took your power away. Like you told me before, it made you feel isolated, made you feel alone, it made you feel like you had no support system. It made you feel cut off from the people that you knew that were your backbone. So the first thing we're going to do is show you how to reclaim that power, how to get to a place where you no longer allow those feelings to affect you in XYZ way. So maybe what I would have done is taken it even further and saying, okay, now having those feelings, how is that affecting you? Maybe it's causing her to be more depressed. Maybe it's causing her to be a shut-in and feel like she can't go out or do anything. So maybe now the power turns into a pitch of how she's going to be able to have enough power to still go out and spend time with people and hang out and enjoy life, even in moments where she feels like she doesn't have community. Does that make sense?
Tons. Yeah. So much sense.
So, and that's how you start to pitch things that make people feel like it's exactly what they need. Right. And that's why I say when I'm trying to pitch, I really want to learn about what parts of my discovery are going to make the pitch write itself. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
The pillars aren't going to change.
Yeah.
The pillars aren't going to change. But I want to see okay, what part discovery, what answers am I looking for? They're allowing me to be like, yep, pull that out. I'm going to put that later in my pitch. Pull that out. I'm going to put that in my pitch. Right? For example, a lot of pro coaching programs, for example, they offer accountability. Right? They'll be like, yeah, one of our pillars is accountability. Right? Yeah. One question that all of those offers should definitely be asking on their sales calls is, hey, what level of support do you feel like you need in order to get XYZ goal? Why do you feel like you need that kind of support? And then based on their answer, if we do provide that support, I'm going to mirror the support they need in the pitch of hey, this is what we provide, as long as it's true, right? I'm not going to just tell them whatever to sell the thing. Does that make sense?
An incredible amount of sense, finding specific questions throughout the discovery that are going to apply to those three pillars so that I can use that information when I pitch. I think that that's so simple yet so revealing.
Because it all needs to solve her problem. When you're going through your pitch, it should be I see how step 1 solves a big problem for me. I see how step 2 solves another problem for me. And I see how step 3 solves another problem. And when all 3 of those problems are solved, I have what I came here for as a byproduct of that. That's what the pitch should be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I want you to really spend some time, because we did power. I want you to spend some more time with that, spend some time with influence, spend some time with magnetism. And, even if you've got to ask the business owner, be like, what results out of that? Okay, I help you with magnetism. Now what?
Yeah.
I help you with influence. What does that look like? Because stories sell. Every single religion in the world is a story, right? People are convinced by stories. So you want to be able to paint the picture, tell them a story about themselves and what their life will look like once they've gone through that pillar, or once they've gone through the program or whatever as a whole, or bought the service. Because at the end of the day, they're not buying services, features, they're buying a lifestyle, right? It's the same way why when your realtor brings you through a house and a viewing, they try to talk that when they go to the living room, they say, yeah, you can do this with the family here. You can do that with the family here. This is where you're going to have a beer with the boys in the back patio. Like they tell you a story of what you can utilize this space in the home for, because stories
Like a
sell
feature
and it's the
benefit,
lifestyle.
right? Every time you mention a
Exactly.
feature, you have to mention a benefit.
Exactly. A benefit and then a benefit of the benefit.
Nice.
As much as you can make them imagine, because like if I'm talking to you guys and I say banana, apples, like what picture pops into your mind? Probably bananas and apples, right? So every single word you're saying, like imagine it's like a movie playing in someone's mind. Like, why can we read books? Because the words are creating the image of what's going on in our minds, right? It's like a movie playing in our minds. That's why people enjoy books just as much as movies, sometimes even more so, right? Because they can get even more imaginative sometimes. There's leaving more up to the imagination. So the reason why some people, they're like, I pitched with one person and it works great, and I pitch with another person and it doesn't, it's usually because they're leaving the pitch up to that person's interpretation and allowing them to imagine something that they're not painting for them. And sometimes when you say your pitch and someone imagines the right thing, they'll buy right away. But then other times they might be interpreting it totally different than the picture you're trying to paint. And then you don't know why they just are not interested.
Yeah.
And the last thing I'll say is that's why I'm a big fan of understanding people's words and even using those in the pitch. Right? Because everyone has a different sense for meaning and interpretation, especially when it comes to different words. And I'll ask you this, Seth. What would you say is better? If I say, like, I have this phone and I say this is a great phone, and I have another phone and I say it's an awesome phone, which phone is better?
Awesome. Depending on, I guess.
What would you say, Monique?
Clarifying questions.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say that the awesome phone is better than the great phone.
Okay. Some people will say awesome's better. Some people will say great's better. Because there's no real objective. Is there an objective one of like which one is actually better?
And I mean, it's
That's
also
where I was like, ooh,
right?
let me
Like,
clarify.
great. Yeah.
Right? You guys want to ask?
Well,
Or
you're
and then
right. Yeah, I was like,
and then there's also the tone. If I said this phone's awesome, this phone is great. This is a great phone. Now, would you say the awesome one's better? Maybe not. Maybe you would. Maybe not.
I just realized that I think I honestly, my brain heard good after I heard awesome. Second word, I don't know if that's just like a psychological thing, but I literally, the reason I said great or the awesome was like, oh, you said good or awesome? Well, awesome. And I literally, so you reset it. Oh, you said great, not good. But my brain, I did hear you.
Well, there you go.
Theoretically.
That takes it even further. Sometimes they don't even hear the specific word you said, right? And that's why,
I swear.
and then that's why it helps so much more to just paint the picture. So this is where I see it like happen a lot, like especially for coaching programs, is when they say we got group coaching, right? What does group coaching mean to you, Seth?
Group coaching is an opportunity to hear other people's questions I may not have thought of or had the courage to ask, as one first thought.
Awesome. What about you, Monique?
Yeah, group coaching is an amazing tool to be able to get a lot of information that you wouldn't otherwise, because like Seth said, you're asking questions or hearing questions that you wouldn't have thought to ask. It's an opportunity to, build community with your peers. And
Now,
yeah.
have you had any bad experiences with group coaching? I'm not saying like programs as a whole, but have you ever been on a group coaching call where you didn't enjoy the call?
Mhm.
Why didn't you enjoy it, Seth?
Unlike you are actively pulling in, and I hadn't spoken for X amount of time, group coaching calls that I am feeling like I'm a fly at the wall, I'm being talked to, and I don't get to participate. I don't like those. That doesn't feel like it's for me, at least for this particular context of a group coaching call I'm thinking of. I would have loved literally breakout rooms of 3 people, allowing me to get a little more interactive.
Good.
One specific
So,
example.
so now on a sales call, if I just pitch group coaching, I'm leaving it up to their interpretation on what that is. Right? They might just like, what if Seth, what if that experience you didn't like was your only ever experience with group coaching and you've never had any other experience of group coaching, and then you're about to spend $10,000 on a program and they say, we got group coaching. You're going to think twice now. You're going to be like, no, definitely not paying 10 grand to go through that again. Right?
Yeah.
Now they just assume like you're going to throw me in a group with 60 people. It's going to be so impersonal. I'm not even going to have them opportunity to ask any questions. Look how many assumptions can stack up based off of me just saying group coaching. And to me, I'm like, well, what do you mean? This is exactly what you need. Our group coaching is great. Let's say our calls are like 5 people, or smaller groups like this, 3, 4 people, and it's very intimate, it's very interactive, and everyone gets a lot of help. But all I say is group coaching. Now that person's totally gone. Right. And that's why it's so important to just paint the picture, because there's so many different ways that can happen where people can just understand things totally different. So that's why you want to say, this is what happens, this is what it looks like, and really walk them through how life is having that thing. Right. And then that's why, like, let's say I'm on a sales call and someone says, oh, is it group coaching? I don't just say like, yes. Because I've had that happen where I'm like, yeah, it's group coaching. And they're like, oh, I hate group coaching. And I'm like, and then I've already pitched group coaching, right? I'm like, I've pitched the call, and they're like, wait, why do you hate it? Like, oh, because you guys, last time I was group coaching, it's the same thing like you said. They just threw me in a big group. It was so uninteractive. I never got any help. I couldn't ask any questions. And now I have to backtrack and be like, well, that's not us. Not me. You know what I mean? Now when someone says, hey, is it group coaching? I'll be like, why do you ask? Oh, because the last time I was on group coaching, this happened. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, this is how we do our coaching. And I'll just explain what it is without saying group coaching. I'll say, oh, okay, cool. What we do small cohorts of because of that reason. And these are the results people get. So when you're on there, you're going to be able to X, Y, Z, paint the picture for them so they can imagine it. And then I'll be like, how does that sound? They say, oh, that's awesome. Right? And the problem is, a lot of times they won't even tell you. They won't even say, oh, I hate group coaching. You'll say, is it group coaching? You'll say, yes. They'll say, oh, okay. And then you'll drop the price. And they'll be like, no, not interested. You'll be like, well, why not? And they'll be like, I got to think about it. And then they're gone and you have no idea why. Right? So I know we've got lots of things to think about, Monique. But if you had to take 1 or 2 main takeaways, because it's hard to flip everything at once, but if you had to take 1 or 2 main takeaways, what would you say they are?
Showing them the bridge from where they are to where they want to be by using the 3 pillars. I'd say maintaining childlike curiosity, so never assuming anything. And where you started off with what brings you here and why do you want help from us? Really starting that before the thing.
Solid. Those things will definitely help. Let me know how it goes. Any final questions